This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of October 26th to November 15th, 2024.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Wendy Hembrock.
I'm Brent Barrett.
And I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And welcome back after a couple of weeks, although in between we released an Arcade Season 2 special episode, so hopefully for those of you enjoying that show, maybe you check that out. Also, we were still running some polls in our Discord channel, and folks were still talking while we were away. So we definitely encourage you to drop on by there. And in a second, we'll talk about those poll results.
Yeah, definitely drop by. And by the way, I think 2 Arcane specials came out between our last podcast and now. So go listen to those if you're into Arcane, or even if you're not and you want to be.
Yeah, as long as you don't mind spoilers, folks. But yeah, we're going deep and hard there. So the back porch might be a little thinner today, only because we spent quite a bit of time talking Arcane a couple days ago.
Yeah, and although it's been a couple of weeks, there aren't a lot of shows on right now. So, but back to Discord, we did close out a couple of polls, and one of them is a show we're definitely going to be talking about today. Disney Plus's Agatha All Along. And after the finale, we asked, what did folks think about it? And we had a 50-50 split. About half of the folks who voted haven't actually seen it yet. And about a quarter of those folks, or half of the half, plan to watch it but haven't seen it yet. And of the folks who have seen it, they either liked it or loved it. So I think Agatha did well overall for our listeners.
I'm going to do the glass half full look at this and say that if we or over a majority, like 52% liked it or loved it, and if you add in the people who plan to see it, it's a overwhelming landslide majority of the people who are all in favor of Agatha.
Yeah, there literally were not any votes for it was okay or didn't like it, so that's a very strong endorsement.
Yeah, and folks who don't plan to see it, that could just be because they don't have Disney Plus and aren't going to. The other poll we had, and I'm going to be curious to hear folks' thoughts on this one, was to offer up your favorite 3 Star Trek series. And we went through, everything starting from the original series, Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Strange New Worlds. And Strange New Worlds just squeaked by 24% of the vote as the number 1, with Next Generation coming in with 23% of the vote, and the original series and Deep Space Nine were tied for 3rd.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I voted for the ones I always vote for, which are not the most popular. I loved Enterprise and Voyager, but I put Strange New Worlds on there in my vote too, so I'm glad to see that at the top because it is just such a refreshing new take on Star Trek that I just love. But that Next Generation, that original series and Deep Space Nine got nods, and Next Generation, came in second. That's good. I mean, it's all good Trek. There's I don't think anything bad there. By the way, when I put this poll together, the only show I couldn't fit in there, was the Star Trek the Animated Series from the early 70s because Discord just wouldn't let me have that many options.
Yeah, it was interesting too, and Brent made a good point in the setup of the poll that, depending on how many you voted for, that kind of diluted your votes if you're splitting them a bit, but wanted to honor the ones you loved. So, but yeah, no, the poll results in terms of number of votes was definitely higher than several of the polls we've done in the last few weeks. So good to see a lot of folks, as we said, very interested in Trek. And, I certainly am in love with Strange New Worlds, but for the sake of transparency, the original series was what hooked me, so I still consider it my fave.
Yeah, it's tough not to vote for the original series or Next Gen because they're sort of so key to the franchise coming afterwards, as well as the movies. But I like to see Strange New Worlds doing so well. And actually, pretty much everything got a vote. So I like to see that too. A little love for everything. So let's head on now over into the water cooler.
Oh, hello there. It's Lee from Lasers and Lockets podcast. the bi-weekly, always nerdy podcast celebrating strong and complex female characters in science fiction and fantasy entertainment. Sound right up your alley? Join me as I sneak aboard spaceships, adventure with elves, and hunt artifacts threatening to ruin the world's day. Oh, and so much more. Get your nerd on and subscribe now on your favorite podcast app.
First up, we're going to do quick reviews covering the shows from October 26th to November 15th and talk about whether you should watch them now, watch them soon, let them sit, or skip. First up is Superman and Lois, Season 4. This is the final season. Episodes 5, Break the Circle. Episode 6, When the Lights Come On. And Episode 7, A Regular Guy. I would give them all a low watch it soon.
I'm not watching.
Neither am I.
Yeah, I'm watching, and it's a slow burn so far for me. Next up, a show we talked about in our poll, Agatha All Along, Season 1, Episode 8, Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End, and Episode 9, Maiden Mother Crone, the season finale. I would give the first one a low watch it now, and the last one a solid watch it now.
I'm going to give the two of them combined watch it now. I loved them.
Yeah, for me, I'd go the 8 next to last at a watch it now. 9 I greatly enjoyed, but I didn't think it was as good, so I gave it a very high watch it soon.
All right, I think we're going to talk about that one. We also had Ghosts. We had a special episode 3 of Season 4 for Halloween, titled Halloween 4, The Witch. Episode 4 of Season 4, The Work Retreat. And Episode 5, A Star is Dead. I enjoyed all of these a lot. Halloween, watch it now. The Work Retreat, watch it now. A Star is Dead, hi, watch it soon.
I loved the first one a lot, and gave me high hopes for the others. I gave the first one a watch it now. Then the other two really disappointed me. I thought they were kind of blah. I'd give them both a low watch it soon.
I think I'm more aligned with Wendy, thinking all three of these I greatly enjoyed. First one, again, I had so much fun with the Halloween one. I'll say low watch it now. The next one, a high watch it soon. And the most recent one I greatly enjoyed too. Low watch it now there.
And we also had, speaking of Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 3, The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel. Episode 4 of Season 5, A Farewell to Farms. And Episode 5, Starbase 80. I would give them all a solid high watch it soon.
I give the first two watch it soon. The third one was pretty cool. I'd say high watch it soon.
Not one I watch.
And moving to one that Kevin does watch, Arcane Season 2 came back with the first trilogy of episodes. Episode 1, Heavy is the Crown. Episode 2, Watch It All Burn. And Episode 3, finally got the name right. We rated these on our special podcast, but I can't remember what I rated them. I'm going to give them all a low watch it now.
I think you probably did give them that. I'm going to rate the first one a watch it now, and the second and third ones a high watch it soon.
Yeah, if memory is serving me right, I'm going to have to make better notes. I believe I went low watch it now, very high watch it soon, and then watch it now.
And finally, we had the return of Silo on Apple Plus for Season 2, Episode 1, The Engineer, and I would give that a very high watch it soon.
I'm not watching.
Neither am I, but I'm looking forward to hearing Wendy's thoughts, because this is one I have on my radar when I get back to Apple Plus.
Yeah, so got some answers, which was nice. I'm not going to give spoilers, and I'm not going to talk about it until we get a couple more episodes, but I definitely will. So let's head on over now to some listener feedback and news. And first up, we got a voicemail from Craig in Pennsylvania about snow from Wicked AI.
Hey guys, this is a friendly voice. Hopefully this is Craig from PA. I've been listening all these years. It's been a while since I called in. Recent conversation has had me calling in today about AI. I've been bumping into all kinds of YouTube videos about X-Men and other characters I follow. Everyone's doing these AI, things about the characters and stuff like that. I'm like, that's interesting. But, this is really for Wendy. Wendy, there's a show coming out called Snow, maybe 10 years from now on HBO. But there is an AI version, by a company called Wicked AI. They've been dropping trailers over the last year, and they finally came out with like a full episode, I think episode 0 and then episode 1. It's amazing. It's about 10 years after the end of Game of Thrones. Please check it out. I'm not sure if there's voice actors or it's all done by computers or whatever, but the animation's beautiful. The characters look great, and it's not all, AI characters. You see a lot of, they make the women look, incredibly unreal, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, the story and everything is amazing. Your show is great, and you might edit this out, but I really miss the theme song. Come on, guys. My kid's 21, and he still sings the song. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Craig, great to hear from you again. It has been a while since we heard your voice, but glad you've still been listening along, and I always appreciate when folks share thoughts on things, especially items we're not, talking about or watching. And, after hearing you mention this, I did go down the rabbit hole a bit onto YouTube, and I put the link in the show notes, folks, for the first trailer for this. You can tell it's AI, but it looks gorgeous. It's got some of the, at least from the trailers. I haven't watched either of the episodes Craig mentioned, but a couple of the trailers, the way AI is often used to show a single character or a single item in frame. There's not a lot going on for the AI to be able to do it, as well as it does, but it's still very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with some of this stuff. I have no idea the quality of the voice acting either. Again, just looking at some of the trailers, but my goodness, it's, the quality of some AI stuff has come a long, long way in the last couple of years.
Craig, thank you so much. I'm great to hear from you. I too miss listening to the Game of Thrones theme song. Hopefully you'll come on back when we talk about Night of the Seven Kingdoms or House of the Dragon in the future. And thank you for sharing this show, because I was not aware of it. Been aware of some other sort of vague news in the Thrones verse about possible movies and spin-offs and stuff, but this was very cool to see. I definitely will watch the longer version. I did watch this trailer and started watching the longer version. And I'm with Kevin that I thought that the AI generated animation was really great. It definitely evoked the characters and the actors from the series. The look and feel of it was also, spot on. And not exact, but I didn't expect it to be exact, but it was really good. I'm going to be curious when somebody does an AI generation of George R.R. Martin's book, because I think that's the only way we're ever going to get one. But thanks again. It was great to hear from you, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I'm glad you shared this. I didn't have a chance to look at it yet, but I think Kevin shared the links, and both my co-hosts are glowing about it, or at least saying that it's interesting. So I think I'm going to check it out after this podcast when I do have a little bit of time. And if you need the theme song, I think we have a little version of it on the Small Council podcast, so you could check that out.
Plus, I can send you the link to where we get it from, the main source too. They have a YouTube channel. So moving on, we got another voice message. This one is from Scott in Cape Cod, talking about the recent Tuner Minute, talking about AI that I did as well.
My only comment is, has nobody seen a science fiction movie in their life? Terminator, Ex Machina, and dozens more like it. How about the Boston Dynamics robots? Have you seen them? If they ever get self-aware through AI, the human race is over. Really only half joking here. Have a great holiday season. You never know when it will be our last.
Ooh, Scott, great to hear from you. Went a little dark there at the end. So I have not heard of the Boston AI thing that you referred to. So maybe you'll share some of that, or maybe Kevin knows about it. Yeah, I agree that we're talking about things that are, science fiction, but they were still imagined by a human person. So I'm not entirely sure I'm drawing parallels, but again, glad it sparked your interest to drop us a message. We appreciate it. Would love to get feedback from everybody. And Scott's a longtime contributor, so thank you again.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for the voicemail. I don't think we need to worry yet. I'm going to calm your fears a little bit. Fortunately, even the Boston Dynamics robots need recharging, and I don't think they're going to have enough charge if we shut down the power grid to go start up a power grid to charge themselves. So I think we're safe.
Yeah, and John Connor is just looking at you all and saying, watch out, world. No, I have fun. Scott had fun with it, and that's always some fun stuff when we start talking about the AI stuff. And it's scary, some of the things when you look at these cool movies, Terminator, like you said, Ex Machina, and some other ones to show it. And those Boston Dynamic robots, I mean, those are the ones that it's freaky, at least to me, when you look at what they can do. It also, some of them remind us, or remind me of the, what was that, show from the UK? Oh, goodness.
Humans.
No, it was the one, War of the Worlds or something that took a slightly different tact. But then the robots in that one were scary, but they looked very similar to those ones. But so I know we're all, Chat GPT and all these other things. Let's face it, it's going to be some pretty interesting stuff happening for all of us average humans the next few years.
I'm just looking for the robot dog that can clean the house.
Yeah, I have two of those. They're called Roombas. Yeah.
So let's move on to some news. And next up, Brent has some news coming out of the Disney Marvel world.
Yeah, a couple of videos on YouTube released by the Disney Megacorp. The first one is talking about Marvel Studios' look ahead to the coming year, basically. And it's got a cool bit of sections from all sorts of different shows and movies. They've showed that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to appear on Disney+. It's already there, by the way. I've been watching it. Daredevil Born Again is coming March 4th. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's an animated show. It's coming January 29th. Ironheart is coming next year, June 24th. What If Season 3 we know is coming this year, December 22nd. We're going to talk about that later. Eyes of Wakanda. I had not heard of this one. It's an animated show, I think. They're coming in August 6th. I'm not quite sure because I don't think they showed a clip from it. Marvel Zombies, which is animated, is coming October of 2025, right around the time for next Halloween, so that sounds perfect. And a show called Wonder Man, which is live action, is coming December of 2025. Now, the Disney Plus trailer, sizzle reel, whatever you want to call it, talks about Star Wars Skeleton Crew in December of this year, Goosebumps The Vanishing in January of 2025, a show called Alien Earth, which looks kind of cool with sorts of alien designs and things. It's a new series. There's no date given. Ironheart, we know about that. Daredevil, we know about that. Andor, Season 2 is coming, and Percy Jackson, Season 2. So a couple of cool videos to watch. There's some cool clips in there if you want to get a taste of each one of them, too.
Yeah, they're very much sizzle reel style. I mean, it's quick, little bits of info here and there, but it does its job of reminding us some of the things we've heard little bits about, or certainly centering us. I was surprised how many specific dates Marvel gave for some of those shows. I mean, as far out as like August or October. I mean, that's, 10 months plus away. So, but then again, they've also moved those dates sometimes on their shows. So, but it's good that they've got specifics. Some of them just more potential timelines, but all stuff. It's nice to know because as we talked about earlier, and you folks are seeing, we're not having a ton of episodes of a ton of shows right now. So looking forward to lots of great new content in 2025.
Yeah, these were great. I don't necessarily pay attention to a lot of the new stuff that's sort of down the road. So this was great for me to see some stuff that, I'm not deep dive into Marvel all the time. I watch what shows up or that Brent's really excited about. So Eyes of Wakanda, that was an example of one I didn't know about. Ironheart, I didn't know about. It looks pretty cool though, and definitely excited about the return of our Daredevil characters. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about. But on Disney Plus, yeah, definitely got some good stuff coming in the Star Wars side of things as well. So speaking of Marvel, Kevin's got some info about one of those shows that was in the teaser.
Yes, as Brent did a great job of teasing ahead here in the podcast, they did, along with those smaller quick cuts, Marvel dropped the trailer, the official trailer for season 3 of What If. And if you didn't catch it when Brent mentioned it, this is coming on December the 22nd. So on YouTube, link in the show notes. You've got about 2 minutes here to kind of see what's coming. If you've been watching all along, you get to see which characters they're going to touch on this time around. So by all means, if you're a fan, you'll want to check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan, and I'm excited that this is coming relatively soon, the end of December. Be nice to catch up on around the holidays, which means I'll probably have to do a little rewatch of the prior seasons first, which you can definitely do with What If. Very manageable. Great trailer. I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. There's some a cool reappearance of a new character, which was really exciting. We've also got, looks like some other Watchers are going to come into the mix. Let's put it that way. And it looks pretty dramatic. So I hope they continue the tradition that they've done with each season of having kind of standalone stories that then tie together. I love that formula for What If, so I hope they do that again. It looks like they might, considering what those other Watchers were doing in the trailer. So, yeah, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I was hoping similar, Brent, that we're going to have sort of enjoy each one and then recognize the overarching elements of the story too. So next up, the show that we've been talking about, and we have a special show to discuss, Arcane and its individual chapters. Arcane also has an after show called Afterglow, and the one for the first 3 episodes is out. We'll have a link in the show notes. And I'm not going to give away too many details, but for me, this was very fun to hear the actors, and we get Haley Steinfeld, who plays Vi, and Ella Purnell, who plays Jinx, talking with the writer of the show, Christian Link. And we also got a little cameo from Reed Shannon, who plays Echo. It was great to hear the 2 women talking about their characters, talking about, their views on the show and the story. It was just a lot of fun. There wasn't really any, big, reveals of anything, but it was great for me to just hear how invested they are in their characters. It really reads on the screen, what they're putting in and as actors into it.
Yeah, it was great fun to hear them talking, the 2 lead sisters, the voices behind them talking about what their experiences have been in season 2 and talking about season 1. And I loved how they shared what their first experience seeing the animation in its final form, and I think Haley was talking about it being the premiere, I think, and the other was talking about it. Sorry, I forgot her name all of a sudden. Ella, I think Ella, right? Was talking about it being the trailer for season 1 at a friend's house on a big screen. I think that's the way they did it. I could have had them confused, but I also love the question about if you could play another character, which one do you play? And I love Ella's answer of Heimerdinger. And then they said, do we want to ask why? No, you don't want to ask why. And then, of course, the other one, Haley talking about playing Mel, because she was and it was pointed out, very different character than Vi, kind of the polar opposite almost. Instead of using fists, she was using her mouth or her words, to get things done.
Yeah, I was very excited to see. I know Netflix has done some after shows for shows I've greatly enjoyed, like The Witcher and some others. This is interesting being up on YouTube. And also, I was I told my co-host here, I was a little disappointed when it first dropped because I saw on social media this was coming, was very excited. It dropped on the Tuesday. Maybe that's when the other ones will too. There haven't been any official notes about when they're dropping these, but that it was only about 13 minutes long. I was kind of hoping it'd be longer, But I gave him credit too, because unlike some after shows, when the Netflix or other ones we've seen, where there sometimes tends to be a lot of fluff and time spent on things that, we really, want to get past some of that, get right to the meaty stuff. To their credit, they jumped right into some really solid questions, as Brent mentioned a couple, some other ones about emotional aspects of the show and, being a voice actor and all there. So it was 13 minutes very well used in terms of getting the info across. So I'm very much looking forward to them. Hopefully they'll do them after Act 2 and Act 3.
Yeah, I'm expecting they will. One thing I really liked hearing was Haley Steinfeld talking about how this should be seen on, in a movie theater on a big screen. I think she's right. I think to really appreciate what's going on in the animation, it would be pretty cool to see these on a big screen someday.
Yeah,
definitely.
Also with the great use of music and all on, a really nice sound system and a big screen. Yeah. I mean, This is a show, as I've been doing some of the rewatches for our podcasts, I will not watch it on my tablet or my phone. I make sure I set aside the time to be watching it on my nice TV with my nice sound system, because this is a show that you really want to make sure you do it that way.
The big 26-inch TV, Kevin? Wow.
That one with the big tube? Yeah.
That's funny. So another show that we've been talking about, we've been talking about a lot is Agatha All Along, and Brent's got some behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, what I've got for you really is just a link to a YouTube video. It's a 5-minute behind the scenes video that really details the costuming of the show of Agatha All Along. There's a lot of detail in these costumes. They're really cool costumes, as we talked about many times. I think when we talked about the show, and definitely as I was watching it, I was realizing there's some incredible costuming going on here. But there's so much detail in things like, for instance, one of Agatha's costumes having detail specific to her character. Great stuff. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, this was a nice little nugget. I mean, Agatha's a show I greatly enjoyed. We're going to talk a little more about the finale back porch. And, the costumes from all these episodes, I mean, they really went full bore on a lot of this. And so this was a nice little nugget. I mean, if you really want a lot, Marvel does a good job with their Marvel Studios Assembled, kind of like, behind the scenes ones after show is finished. Now, many of those have only been available on Disney Plus. But they did put the one out for Agatha on YouTube, and they've done it for, I think, WandaVision and a couple others. But if you really want to go deep, you got an hour plus there. But this is a nice little nugget one on some things that were just really the detail and the thought that goes into it. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. It features the costume designer, Daniel Seelan, and just the thought that goes into their costumes. And as their wardrobe changes across episodes, Brent mentioned Agatha's coat, which he talked about what inspired the coat, and these runes that they wove into the lining of it. The costume for the teen and Billy was really interesting. There's so many nods in this show to iconic other witch series movies that it's not surprising to me at all that they had so much thought put into this. This is Lord of the Rings level attention to detail on these costumes, and it just helps the actors, even if you can't see all those details on the screen, they're informing the performance. So this was definitely worth watching, and as Kevin mentioned, or Brent, it's only about 5 minutes, but it's definitely worth it. So let's move on to another show that's got some cool costumes. Kevin's going to talk about Wednesday.
I am, and specifically I'm going to be talking about some casting news for the upcoming season. So this will be your alert to pause or pop out your earbuds if you don't like to know that kind of detail. Because we found out this week that coming up for the new season, which has already been filming, we're going to be getting Lady Gaga in a role here, which was very interesting to hear. Now, the next season for Wednesday, we don't have a timeline yet. I think in the summer, we heard from some of the actors involved. They'd already shot about 4 of what I think are going to be 8 or 9 episodes. So, fingers crossed it's not too far off. But they've really been bringing in, several other big names that are going to be appearing in season 2. Folks like Billy Piper and Steve Buscemi. So, this is really another one that kind of goes to the back of the mind because it's been so long since we had season 1, but really excited for when we're going to get season 2.
Yeah, this was very interesting. I'm wondering if she's a cameo or an actual character. And it was great to be reminded that we've got Billy Piper and Steve Buscemi coming into the mix as well, which I think they'll be awesome. Yeah, I just wish this was coming sooner.
Yeah, you and me both, Wendy. I know Lady Gaga's been in some, as an actor, been in some things lately, but I haven't seen them. So I don't really know how good of an actor she is. I've seen some of her music videos. But I hope she's a good fit. I'm sure she is. They've always picked good people. And I think coming this late, being such a big name, I'm going to guess she is just like a one episode or a small part, I would imagine. But yeah, it's cool news.
And we also have some news coming out about the Star Wars series Andor. Season 2 will be coming back to Disney Plus pretty soon, actually. April 22nd of 2025, which isn't that far off. And I'm actually really looking forward to this show. This was kind of one of the surprise shows in the pipeline for me that I was so interested in it. Because honestly, Rogue One was okay. It's not my favorite movie. I don't go back and rewatch it all. But the story leading up to Rogue One has definitely got me engaged.
Yeah, I did enjoy Andor season 1. I have a controversial stance on it. I've made clear on Discord before, maybe even here, that it's not my favorite Star Wars. I like Star Wars, so I'm going to watch it, Andor season 2, but I thought Andor season 1 was a lot of slow stuff that I didn't really find exciting in a Star Wars story. So I'm hoping season 2 maybe picks up the pace a bit, but I'm still going to watch it. It's Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, this is interesting and kind of leads into the Tuner Minute coming up later. I did not watch season 1 of Andor for, many of the reasons or similar reasons to what Brent mentioned, that I had heard it was definitely on the slow side. But I heard a lot of people that I trust say, yeah, but it's still, quite well done and still can be quite, worth the watch. So this is one that's kind of been sitting there in the back of my brain. And now that we have a date for season 2, maybe I will watch season 1. So I'm going to be interested to see, but it's great that there is a date for sure.
And we've also got a little bit of a realignment of some networks that Brent is going to share.
Industry news, yeah. BBC America. I never really knew this, although it should have been obvious in hindsight, that BBC America was a network put together as a partnership between BBC and AMC. And now, apparently all along, BBC had 50.1% control, which let them have total, literally creative control over what was on the show, on the network and so forth. But AMC has purchased the rest of it. They've purchased full control from BBC America for $42 million, which doesn't seem like a lot these days for something like this. But they've got full control. However, they said they're going to continue their partnership with BBC. They're not going to change the name of the network at all at this point. And it's still going to contain BBC content as well as some AMC content, just like we've been seeing so far on BBC America. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be any real significant change for us as viewers. It's just interesting to know that BBC no longer has any control over BBC America.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those with all the massive shifts in streaming services, mergers, buyouts, so forth. Didn't know a lot of the background as Brent laid it out there, but I'm wondering what that impact is going to mean for some of the content going forward. I know there's an AMC Plus level. I think Wendy might be able to speak to, having subscribed here or there. I haven't found anything that's made me have to want to buy that. So maybe that'll shift. Who knows?
Yeah, I got AMC Plus because I wanted to watch the rest of Snowpiercer. And there was, I don't know, maybe a handful of shows that I checked out, but it hasn't been enough. I used to really like AMC. Mad Men came on AMC and a lot of other great stuff, but kind of lost its way. I considered getting it again to watch Interview with the Vampire, but it just turned out I had so many other things to watch that I didn't need to bother. But this is interesting because, for folks who don't have BritBox like me, AMC, this partnership was a way to get some of those British shows as well. So I'm going to be really curious what the direction is that it goes, because I've seen a lot of complaints about BBC America being not very British anymore. So I'm going to be curious to see if I'm still going to get the best British stuff on PBS, which is where I look for most of it these days. And with Doctor Who being on, Disney now, whether there's a really compelling reason to want to go check this stuff out. So we also have some news coming out of Amazon that Kevin's going to share.
Yes, game fans and, sci-fi fans hopefully will be positive to hear that Mass Effect TV series is in the works officially at Amazon. They had dropped some news like way back in 2021 that they were in negotiations to develop it, but now it's been announced it is officially in development. And they've got an executive producing company, that kind of stuff mentioned in the article. So we're still quite a ways away from getting it, obviously, but they're dropping the press releases to let us know. So if, like me, rather, you're not that familiar, if you're not a gamer, they do have some general info in the article about, what the game revolves around and things like that. So this is a good, grounding story if you've got no info at all. Check it out.
Yeah, I did. I've heard of Mass Effect, but never played it. I'm not a gamer. And just kind of reading the summary, it's probably not something I'm very interested in, but, we'll see once we get a trailer.
Yeah, this one can go either way. Just for those who are wanting something to compare it to, Halo is a similar type of game, where we've got humanity fighting an enemy of humanity sort of thing, and it's a military sci-fi, so it's the same base genre, I guess, of those. I have played part of the first game. I'm familiar a bit with the overall story and the universe of the game series. So I think it would make a good series. I hope they do a slightly better job than Halo. Halo had some rough bits in it, and hopefully they're a little more maybe true to the game than Halo was, to see if they can get some good stuff going there. I'm a little concerned, though, that the one of the main people behind this is the same person who produced adaptations of Borderlands, Uncharted, and Ghost in the Shell. 3 movies which had kind of mixed reviews. Borderlands being a very negative review from its fans. Uncharted being kind of and Ghost in the Shell being kind of So I'm not so excited. But apparently he's also worked on Iron Man and Ghost Rider and the 2006 Blade TV series, which I think Kevin, if not Wendy, also watched. He's got a mixed bag. So we'll see how it goes. Just like Wendy said, I got to wait for a trailer.
Yeah, and as you said in that description, Brent, I guess a lot too can depend on if you're giving, multiple episodes for a TV series. Can you do a better job? Because sometimes trying to take some of those properties and, drop it into a 2-hour or less movie is really hard to do and do well.
Yeah, and sometimes the folks adapting these things don't necessarily know why fans love the thing that they're adapting. So hopefully they've played the game and talked to some super fans.
That's the absolute truth about the Halo adaptation. They did not know what fans loved about the game.
Well, there you have it. And finally, we've been talking a lot about Disney properties, and we got the official trailer for Skeleton Crew, which is a Star Wars story. We have the trailer. This is going to premiere on December 3rd, so coming soon for your holiday enjoyment. And I had already decided from whatever the teasery trailer was that I was going to check this out, and I'm still going to check this out. I know some folks might be worried it's too kid-like, but I'm hoping it strikes an interesting balance.
Yeah, as I mentioned for the Andor article, it's Star Wars, so I'm going to check it out. And being kind of younger oriented doesn't shock me or worry me because remember Percy Jackson, remember Star Trek Prodigy, both were seemingly kid shows or even, youth shows or whatever you want to call them. And turned out to be really good content. So I'm hopeful on Skeleton Crew. Yeah, there'll be some cute kids doing cute kid stuff that might annoy people, but maybe it'll be more than that. We'll see. But I'm definitely going to watch.
Yeah, I'll be on the sidelines waiting to hear from some other folks, how it is. I'm not like totally ruling it out, but I watched the trailer and didn't really grab me. So it's going to be a wait and listen to some trusted friends.
All right. And we're going to wrap up the water cooler with a tuner minute. Kevin recorded this week's. It's titled Trigger. And I don't think he's talking about Roy Rogers' horse.
So I suspect almost all of us have a to-be-watched list for shows we want to eventually naturally get to watch. Now, some folks, maybe like myself, where they actually have an actual list, in my case in an app, or maybe you have it written somewhere. Maybe it's just in the back of your mind in terms of how you keep track of things like that. But for today's Turn Minute, I'm curious what it is that actually triggers you to get to watching that show. Is it maybe just the fact that you do have a list and it's popped up to the top of that list and it's time to watch? Maybe it gets to be around the holidays when we have less new episodes of shows, so that's when you get to them. Maybe it was a recommendation from a trusted friend that finally pushed you over. Curious what it is that might actually cause you to start to watch one of those shows.
Aha. Well, I do not keep track of things in an app, but I do keep track of things with watch lists. And when a series ends that I've been enjoying, I will come and see, hey, what's next? A lot of times the channel itself will say, hey, because you like this, watch that. And often that will be like, no, I'm going to watch something on my list. So that's usually the trigger is something's finished up and I either want to see more of that, something like it, or I want to see something totally different. The other thing that triggers me to go and tap into my watch list, lengthy to-dos is how much time I have. So if it's, later in the evening and I'm looking for something that's just an hour and I'm going to dip into it, then that will influence what I choose. Because there's certain shows that I just know I'm going to need to watch a couple of episodes to decide if I'm interested or not. So those won't be choices. And you mentioned the time of the year. There's definitely things I look forward to around Halloween. So I will go back and look at things that look like they fit in the mood of Halloween and they fit in the mood of Christmas as well.
I don't have an app either. As I've mentioned before, I keep my list in my head, which makes it hard sometimes to remember what's on my list. But it used to be for a longest time, I would get to things that were on my list when I just had nothing else to watch and I wanted to sit down and watch something. I'm finding that happening less and less and less. And I think that's the reason for that is I consume most of my media on YouTube. I would say by far the vast majority of my media is consumed on YouTube. And I literally have backlogs of things. I've got currently on one of my computers, I've got a window open, a browser window with like probably 25 tabs of videos I still have to watch. I don't put them in a to-do, you can put them in a queue, a watch later queue. I don't do that. I just open tabs. And that's, of course, that's both dangerous and good for me because if it crashes and I lose my tabs, it's good that I don't have to watch all that stuff, but bad that I might have missed something really cool. But so I don't get a lot of time when I have nothing to watch, right? Like I used to, where I would watch the next thing on the list. So now it comes down to two things, I think, two factors, Kevin, that trigger me. One is this podcast. If we're going to be talking about a new season of a show and I haven't seen the other season or I haven't caught up, that's one thing that'll get me to do it, so that I can be caught up. The other thing is, as you mentioned, friends, you two, other people that I talk to who say, hey, that show's really good or whatever, check it out. Or they start talking about a show. I know I play video games and I game with a bunch of friends online and we're chatting all the time. And if they're talking about a show that I know is on my list or even one I haven't heard of, and they're really excited about it. That'll get me to go watch it. So it really is triggers from the podcast and from friends these days. But it used to be boredom, but that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I went to record this one, I knew I wanted to kind of show the very different approaches of Kevin with his app, Wendy with a different way of doing it, and Brent with a totally different way. The three of us I knew are very different when it comes to those ways of looking at our to-be-watched shows and things. So it just made for some fun thought when I looked at it. And I was thinking about myself a little bit. I do have a list, as we talked about. I do rearrange sometimes. I very much, or I used to, not sure if I'm going to this year, but I used to, as we all know, we would see quite a dip in episodes for our genre shows around the holidays. Now, we had other personal commitments, too, that would suck up a lot of that time, but usually that was a time when I would, as Wendy kind of said, maybe dip into a show, watch an episode or two at the beginning of it if it's one I hadn't got to then know whether I really wanted to make some time for it. But we're going to have to wait to see them. And as we all know, we've had, volume-wise, less of them as of recent. So I do have more of an opportunity to maybe grab one, but I haven't been as motivated. I've definitely been going around rabbit holes. YouTube has been a part of it for me, too. Not to Brent's extent, but certainly a lot more than I ever used to. Looking at reactors to TV shows, even ones from many years ago, Farscape, Buffy, Wynonna Earp, other things. So I've been kind of revisiting some of the properties I love through other people's eyes, if we've touched on sometime. And certainly the recent rabbit hole that is Arcane that I've gone down. I mean, I watched that had been mentioned by the folks here and in our Discord and in my social circles. But again, it was animated and I just hadn't made it a priority. And I think it was Brent mentioned something about it, or we got some announcement of the date or something. And it just kind of triggered it a few months back to like, all right, Kev, at least, which I did with Harley Quinn. I did check out the first episode, and boy, did I fall hard. And now I'm spending a lot of time on YouTube, not just at reactors, but Arcane very much lends itself to analysis, both very serious, deep stuff and other fun stuff, but just ways to look at it. So it just made me think, sometimes that trigger gets me to watch that show, but then goodness gracious, so much more of it. And I didn't know if that, had some similar impacts on other folks.
So I'm going to tell you a funny story about being triggered to watch something. I had tried to watch Fall of the Gods or whatever is that Snyder animated show. And I fell asleep watching it, so it kept running. So when it said, "Do you want to keep watching this?" I was just like, "Let's see where it was." And it was in like the 4th episode, but I slept through, 2 and 3 and whatever it was in 4. And it came on for like 15 minutes, and I was like, "Yeah, I still don't want to watch the show." So sometimes what triggers me to go back to something is very random.
And there is fun in that spontaneity. That's, that was kind of the fun with checking out that Arcane episode a little bit, was like, this is totally against brand for me, animated. And I probably don't have time to watch it, but what the heck? Let's at least give it a shot.
So glad you did.
So glad I did. Yes.
Yep. Okay, so we'd love to hear folks' thoughts on the Tuner Minute or any of the shows we talked about, or what we're going to talk about next in the back porch.
Today we talk about Agatha All Along.
So first up, we did talk about Arcane a little bit in that prior segment. Just a reminder that we're doing a special podcast specifically about Arcane. We already talked about season 1 a couple weeks ago, and we'll be tracking along with Arcane as the trilogy episodes drop each week. So that's why we're not talking about it today in the back porch.
Yeah, we talked about episodes 1 through 3 of season 2 already, guys. Go listen or watch. We have a video version too.
Yep. And a couple more of those coming for 4 to 6 and then 7 to 9, the end.
Yep. But what we are going to talk about is Agatha All Along. We had the final 2 episodes during our break. And the thing I really appreciate about this show is it resolves the story and sets up new and interesting things going forward. And also, we got characters in a new place, which sometimes in stories like this will end up with kind of a reset where everybody kind of goes back to where they were. We did not. Agatha is dead. Agatha sacrificed herself, and she's going to carry on possibly as a ghost if we get to see more of this story in the future. So I really like that. I thought they did a great job with the flashback of Agatha's overall story, her son, Nick Scratch. I was getting a little tired of hearing the song. So by the time we got the episode that showed that backstory and how she and her son wrote that song together, how she used it to steal the power from the other witches, I appreciated that, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done with this song now. And I often criticize shows for when they place flashbacks into stories and how they try to drag things out with a mystery. I actually thought this show did a really good job of coloring in Agatha's backstory, tying it to the reveal of Billy and the connection back to Wanda. It also underscored the power that Billy has because he took that song and made it real. And I loved all the nods to the Wizard of Oz that we've seen throughout, and getting that payoff when we kind of tour through his bedroom and see all the seeds that were planted for what he built. And that, Agatha, who's a great liar, she recognized at certain points, but I actually want to go back and rewatch this now to see if there's any sort of little indicators. There's certainly some that she said in dialogue, but for me, this was a really good wrap up to a story that I enjoyed a lot more than I expected to going into it. They did a great job with not just the Agatha character and Billy, but the side characters as well. And I'm happy with how it ended. I thought they did a really good job. Nothing got dragged out. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, I'd give this one a big thumbs up as well. I think it's one of my favorite Marvel TV shows for sure. The pacing was pretty good. As you said, I also criticize shows a lot for flashbacks, overuse of them sometimes. I don't think this show overused them really. They think they use them really well, and including in this, throughout the season, throughout the series, including in this last episode. I think the flashback that showed us or told us, all about what really, Agatha's always been selfish, right? She's always been, I wouldn't necessarily say evil, but definitely immoral. Definitely didn't care too much about other people. Very neutral in that regard, chaotic neutral. But to see that, her son and how he was taken from her and essentially the kind of breakup that she had with death and why she had that breakup and what death took from her, as she mentioned in another episode, or did to her, however she phrased it, was really good. And learning, about the Witch's Road and how after he passed or after he was taken, she started using this whole gimmick, of, hey, spreading the word of the Witch's Road through, they had already been spreading that word, but she continued to spread it. And she would get witches to come together and say, hey, do you know how to get to the Witch's Road? And she'd say, yeah, we just need to get a coven. And then she would always use it as a way to try to sing the song and open the Witch's Road, and nothing would open. And then she'd do the same thing she did in the early part in the first episode or first couple episodes of this show, where she accused the witches of being not good witches and stuff. So they get angry with her and attack her so that she could absorb their power. And that's how she lived. She just did that from, decade to decade, century to century. And to find out, that like you said, that Billy had created this because of his power that he has, because he has a bit of the Scarlet Witch's ability to create things, to manifest stuff. And that explains a lot of her reactions, like her complete kind of shock that the door appeared in the floor of her basement. Like, huh? You know, at first, we just thought, oh, wow, okay, it worked. I didn't think it would work, sort of thing. But now we know it's because it didn't exist. It's not a real thing. How did this happen? But yeah, finding that backstory was really good. The final sacrifice she did, which I got to admit, they really played with us, but they played with us in a really good, clever way. You know, at first it looked like she was going to sacrifice Billy, and then she had to talk with Billy, and it looked like she was going to sacrifice herself, and then she turned Billy in, gave Billy up, and then at the end, when Billy asked that question, "Is this what happened to your son?" That stopped her, and she's like, "No, you know what?" And she actually did basically sacrifice herself. But she says at the end, when she's a ghost, she's like, "Yeah, I knew this would work. I knew I could be more powerful this way, or whatever." So, I think she did actually sacrifice herself for Billy, but she wants to pretend like she didn't. But it's great how they team up at the end. I love that, where she comes back in. She's kind of haunting him in a way, but I love how he tries to send her on her way with the spells, and it doesn't work. And she finally gets a hold of her brooch or whatever it was, her cameo, whatever it was, and all of that. And then at the end, the decision that let's go find Tommy. Let's go find your brother. And that's kind of the setup for another season, if we get one, is Billy and Ghost Agatha on the hunt for Tommy. And I would watch that. I would absolutely watch that.
Yeah, this was a show that very pleasantly surprised me. I didn't have high expectations going in. I wasn't negative on it, but I was like, oh, okay, well, this is in the Marvel Disney Plus side of it. It's worth a look. And as it went on, I found it interesting. The idea of the road, the way and we talked about it earlier in the show, the costuming, losing people along the way, all along thinking, there was another play going on, and then throwing us the curveball, with Billy and all. It was well done. It was very entertaining. It's one of the rare shows for me where I'm like, I really need to rewatch that to appreciate some of the things that they did and be entertained along the way. So, yeah, I would very much love to see a season 2. Maybe this is one where it'd be better left where it ended, in the sense that, yeah, we had a good story and, let's move on. But, I don't know if they've got some creative idea that would work well. I certainly would like to see Agatha back, very well played, and how that might work, with the twins, maybe. Could be very interesting. So kudos. This was one, it definitely was higher than I thought it would be when I first started watching it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some interesting story to see these two team up. Agatha being a ghost would be a very interesting change from, what she can do when she was human. And now seeing, Billy actually maybe recognizing his powers, or her teaching him how to use his powers, that could be very interesting. The other thing about Agatha's story, though, is, we don't know who is Nicky Scratch's father, and if we might have her, ultimately end up meeting up with him again. So, her story's not done. Billy's story's definitely not done. And Tommy could be anywhere. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities, I think, for season 2.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if they do a season 2 and they go searching after Tommy, they're going to go up against Lady Death, right? Because she doesn't like the idea of stealing life. You're dead, you're dead. If you weren't alive to begin with, in the case of Billy and Tommy, stealing somebody's body to continue your life, she had a problem with that. And so we're going to have encounters with her as well. So I actually look forward to that. She's a great character, great actor. But yeah, and then they got to set up the fact that Billy and Tommy have to be established if they're going to continue in the MCU, because they are significant characters in the MCU as part of the next generation of Avengers and so forth. So I could definitely foresee a season 2. I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah, an excellent point there too. The cast really was strong. So the characters that are still with us potentially going forward, and hopefully having those actors play them, that in and of itself is a big part of what I'd be excited to see.
Oh, yeah, totally. So with that, I think we are going to wrap up this week's show. Before we go, I want to thank all of you all who have been listening, posting on Discord. We really appreciate you. And I want to thank Kevin and Brent for another fun time talking about genre TV. We'll see you again soon.
Catch you next time.
Have a great week, everybody.
If you'd like to contact Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, voicemail at 706-927-8478, Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our website at tuningintoscifitv.com and use the SpeakPipe app or our forums. And finally, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi or on Facebook at facebook.com/tuningintosci-fi TV. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 663, recorded November 16th, 2024.